Hello, I'm Brittany with Stitches of Love Quilting, and I would like to welcome you to the video tutorial for making your Land That I Love mug rug using your embroidery machine. Now, if you're a member of the Applique Club, let's review what you get in your box. If you're not a member, you can also order these kits and files to use. I invite you to join the club because you get something really fun in the mail every month. Now, if you're a member, this is what you got for the month of June. You get a new box every month, and this is for the Land That I Love. Everything that you need to make one mug rug and one zipper bag is included in your box. How great is that? So let's review what you have in your kit. When you open your box, you'll have your instructions for the zipper bag and the mug rug. Now we'll have a cute little note from us. And then you'll have your placement guide if you want to use not your embroidery machine, but your regular sewing machine and do traditional machine applique. And then you have your instructions. So for using the embroidery files, we'll set this aside. You'll also have all of your pre-fused laser cut applique pieces. And again, this is enough to make two. You make one zipper bag and one mug rug, so you have all of the applique pieces you need. They're pre-fused with Heat and Bond Light and then cut out. You just do a quick little snip to free them from the square that they're in, and you have everything you need. We'll talk more about those in a minute. Also in your kit, you're gonna have a 5" by width of fabric strip. This will be what you cut down for the binding for your zipper bag and your mug rug. This month we used a really fun line of fabric from Moda. It's actually called Land That I Love as well. Then you will have the piece that you need for the lining for the outer back and for the front portion of your mug rug, and you have your batting. That's what we're going to use in this tutorial, so I'm going to keep that aside on my machine. And then you'll also have all the materials you need for the zipper bag, which includes your zipper, the lining and outside pieces of your zipper bag, and then the batting for that. This you will have to cut down from what's included in your kit. You trim it to 9x3, 9x7, and 9x9 as instructed. So we'll set that aside. Let's also talk about the thread colors that you're gonna need this month to complete this in your embroidery machine. So we have these really fun sulky 40 weight rayon threads, and they come from two different kits. We have a pastels kit and we have a primary kit. Both are 40 weight sulky rayon. How gorgeous are those? Don't you just love the colors? They're just delicious. I highly recommend, if you do a lot of embroidery projects with us here at Stitches of Love Quilting, that you just go on and pick up both of these kits, because pretty much everything we do is gonna run out of the threads of these two kits. So you'll have everything you need to get going. So this month we're using 1001, which is white. We're using 1035, which is a really fun burgundy red color. Looks so great with the fabrics this month. We have 1218, which is a light medium gray. 0567, which we use this color all the time. I love it. It's a really nice golden yellow, and it works really good with golds and yellows. It's a very versatile thread color. And then this gorgeous blue, which is 1293. So these are the colors we're gonna use this month on our project. Now let's talk about the setup. So in front of me, I have my Steady Betty. I love to use this because when we're ironing on our pre-fused laser cut applique pieces, it's very handy not to have to walk over to an ironing surface. I keep it right in front of my embroidery machine. Now my embroidery machine is a Brother Dreammaker XE, the Innovis VE2200. The files are compatible with all major name brand embroidery machines, so just load that file onto your flash drive and put it into your machine and you're ready to go. The hoop that you'll want to have needs to be 6 inches by 8 inches, accommodate at least 6 inches by 8 inches so that you can make all of your design. Now we have started carrying organ needles. These are fantastic. I love, in the past, anytime you had to buy needles, you had to buy like this crazy bulk amount. And now we are so excited to carry these. You get 5 needles in one pack. You can see I've already taken one out and put it on my machine. Organ needles are just fantastic. I really like it. This is the embroidery one, and it is size 75 to 90. It works great with that sulky 40 weight rayon thread. I love it. I always like to have one full bobbin in my machine, and I always make a second one extra to have by my side. And I like to buy these pre-wound. I actually wound this one myself because I ran out of my pre-wound bobbins, but my machine did a great job making a bobbin for me. But I think it's handy to always have one extra. I'm gonna be using medical tape throughout the process. You can use home office tape like Scotch tape. You can use whatever you like. I actually picked these up. It's 3M transport tape is what it's called. If you type that in Amazon, you get about 6 or 12 rolls for like 10 or 15 bucks. It's a great deal. It'll last you forever. I also like to have 2 little jars with me. One I use as my trash can for the ends of threads, and then when I peel the backing for my applique pieces. And then I have 1 little jar that I like to put my applique pieces in before I use them so I don't lose them. You know, especially when you're working with like little circles and little pieces. And then some months there's buttons on your project. It's handy to have it all in one contained space so they don't fall off your table and into the carpet or under the table or anything like that. And then the last thing I like to have is my handy dandy steam fast travel iron. You can see this little guy has had a ton of use for me. I love it. It's several years old. It's great for ironing your pieces in your hoop. So now that you're ready to begin, you'll put a stabilizer. I use a medium tearaway stabilizer into the hoop of your machine. You'll load your file with a white thread on your machine, and you're gonna do the first step. So while that's stitching, let's talk about getting your pieces ready. All you're gonna wanna do while your machine is prepping is take your pieces out and snip them free, and then we'll be back to do the very first step. So your machine, using the file for the back of your mug rug, has stitched an outline that's gonna tell us where to put the back fabric of our mug rug. And so we're just going to place this right in line and make sure that we're covering that stitched rectangle. And I'll put just a smidgel of tape to hold it in place. So just a little piece up there. And you might want to take your iron and make sure you don't have any folds in your fabric. Isn't that nice? Did you see how great that little iron was inside the hoop of the machine? It's fantastic. We do carry those on our website under Notions, and then it's under pressing tools. So you can jump on our website. We also carry the thread, the Steady Betty, the threads, anything that you might need. And again, all of those are under Notions. One Notion I forgot to mention is my favorite pair of scissors, my Karen K. Buckley. I like to have small, medium, and large. This is the medium pair. I just love it. It's great to have. So we're gonna put this back on the hoop. Again, we still have the white thread because what we're stitching right now is just going to be a basting stitch that never shows, and it's also going to do the outline of our first applique piece. So getting back to the applique pieces while the machine is stitching, I'll talk to you about that. So you can see that your pieces are in a square or a rectangle. They're pre-fused with the heat and bond light, and all you need to do is just snip them free, about 1/8 of an inch, and you just give it a little snip and your piece comes right out. We do this so that we can make sure that, of course, your kit has all the pieces you need. We don't make a mistake in our kitting process, and it helps you not lose your pieces at home because they're all in a larger piece that's easy to find if you happen to misplace. So the first piece that we're going to use is going to be this cute little star that's going to go on the back. So I'm going to set that aside. I'm going to continue just snipping. So you can see that's like a little centimeter that you have to snip. These are the flower centers. And in your kit this month, just to make it a nice square instead of a weird shape, you actually have 2 extra circles that you don't need. But it's always better to have more than not enough, right? All right, so now the machine is ready. Again, I'm just gonna keep this in here and I'll snip away as I go while the machine is doing other things. And again, trash bucket, so handy to have. All right, so let's take a look at what our machine just did for us. How fun is this? You have a cute star stitched, and it's time to put your applique piece. So you're just going to crimp it back, remove the white backing, and your star is going to fit perfectly in that stitched line. So we're just gonna put it in place, take our iron, and zap it down. Now be careful with your iron not to iron over your tape because you don't want to get any sticky on your iron. So we're gonna put that back on, and now it's time for a color change. So we're gonna remove the white and we will put in the 0567, this golden yellow, and you'll continue to the final step of the back of your mug rug, which will be the buttonhole stitch. So go to that next step with this yellow thread, 0567, and I'll show you what it looks like completed. And just like that, in a matter of like 20 or 30 seconds, you have your little star stitched with the buttonhole stitch. Looks great. So we're totally done with the back of our mug rug. So let's take this out of the hoop and we're gonna move on to the front of our mug rug. So we'll take this out and set it aside. I'll show you how to trim everything at the end of the video. It's real easy. And I'm gonna hoop the stabilizer in my hoop again. And again, I'm just using a medium tearaway stabilizer. You can use whatever you prefer to work with. And we'll just get this lined up. There we go. Tighten it up and we'll put it back on. And now we're gonna load the file for the front of our project, which is the Land That I Love mug rug. So we'll go load that in our machine. And we'll be back and we'll go on and do the first step, which will be the rectangle. I would recommend a white thread, and we'll be back to continue. So with that first step of the front of your mug rug, you have a nice rectangle outline, just like you did when you were doing the back of your mug rug. Now it's time to put your batting and the background fabric, so the front fabric of your mug rug, in place. So we're just going to, again, make sure we cover up that rectangle. And we're going to put our fabric in place, and then I'll give it a nice press. There we go. And now I'm gonna do a little bit of tape. And you'll see if you've watched past videos, sometimes I tape a lot and sometimes I don't. It just sort of depends how I'm feeling that day. So you know that you can use as much or as little tape because it's your project, and here at Stitches of Love, we do not believe in any type of quilt police. We just want you to have fun. So do what makes it work best for you and the way that you enjoy it the most. All right, so we're going to put that back on. Now again, I have the white thread, the Sulky 1001, loaded on my machine, and the machine is going to do a nice meander quilting to give it some good dimension, and then it's going to do an outline of our first several applique pieces. So continue with this step. We'll be back in just a second to iron on our first round of pieces. Let's take a look at what the machine did. So you can see we have nice meandering, and I know it'll be hard to see on camera because it is white thread, but we do have the outline of our rocket stitched. So let's iron those on. The first thing that we'll do will be to put our white piece in place. And so we'll just take a look right here, make sure that's perfectly within our line, and we'll press it down. And again, it only takes a few seconds to iron it down. And I am gonna go on and remove the tape that I used to hold, just so that I don't, you know, the part that's going on to my design, so I don't wanna get my iron sticky. So just take that off. There we go. And now we'll do our little rockets. Let me get my tape off my finger. There we go. So with the rockets, you're gonna wanna make sure that you put your, let me give you a peek into the pattern. I'll make it make sense what I'm about to say. You're going to wanna make sure that you put the rocket pieces down in the order that they're numbered. So we have 8, 9, and 10, and that's because this one is underneath, that's underneath that. So you wanna make sure you have your layering the right way. So the triangle tops and the little rocket parts of the fireworks themselves are exactly the same. Only the little poles of the fireworks are different. So the first one is the shortest one. And we're just gonna go over here and find where that piece goes. And again, with the white thread, it's a little hard to see on camera, and y'all might have just had my hair slip in. So we'll put that piece down. Then we'll put our rocket. And it goes right in place. Super cute. And again, all of this fabric is from the same line, and then we used a few basic colors as accents. And we'll get our triangle top in place. There we go. And iron that on. And now we'll repeat it for the second step, or the second firework, excuse me. So just line it up perfectly in the spot. Our second piece will be the little rocket itself. And again, you'll be able to see your stitching. I know on the camera you probably can't see because there's not much contrast between the white and my background. And then the top of your firework right in place. And the final firework is right here. Oop. There we go. And our second piece of that. And the final piece of this step, the top of the rocket right here. There we go. So now we're gonna put this back on the machine. We're gonna keep the white thread on, and the machine is gonna do an outline of pieces numbered 2, 3, 4, and 5. So put this back on, and I'll see you for the next step. So we have the outline of the 4 pieces that are gonna go on the base of our hat. So we'll start with piece number 2, and we'll put it right in place. And again, you just follow those stitched lines. Your pieces are gonna fit absolutely perfectly in place. There we go. Our second piece. There we go. And our third piece, which is piece number 4, I believe. Yes, piece number 4. Get that right in place. And then the 4th piece that we're putting down, piece number 5. There we go. Perfect. So again, keep the white thread on your machine. We're gonna put this back on the hoop, and it's gonna do an outline of pieces numbered 6 and 7. So those 2 outlines are there, and we're gonna grab those 2 pieces. So you have this one, which is a little funny shape. That little part you can see is under the star, and then we have the right side number 7. So we'll peel the backing and get this right in place. There we go. And then we'll peel the backing off piece number 6 and put that in place. There we go. And you especially want to make sure that you have that little jut out in the right place, because you want to make sure that's going to go under your star in the end. There we go. So now let's do our next step, which is going to outline all 7 of our flowers, and it's going to give us an outline for our star, and then we'll be back to do the ironing and our first color change. So now our machine has given us the outline for our 7 flowers and for our star. So let's iron those on. So you're going to remove the backing, and the first piece we'll put in place will be the star, because it's the easiest one to put in place. The flowers are not symmetrical. They're all the same, however, but you will have to sort of turn them until you make sure you have them in the right position. So you'll just remove the backing, peel it all off, and then let's get this in place. There's one that's kind of square on the corner, and that helps me figure out which direction my flowers go. See, that trick worked on this one. Isn't that nice? So we're just gonna make sure we have that in place. Oh. Is that the right direction? Yes, it is. It's just hard to get that one right in place. There we go. Once you have it, you will zap it down. So you're gonna continue by putting all of your flowers in place and zapping them down. So again, there's 7 throughout. And then you're going to load your machine with 1035, this beautiful burgundy color. And the machine is gonna go and do the buttonhole stitch on the burgundy part of your hat, and it's gonna do the straight stitching on all of your flowers. And we're doing it in this order because that way you have way less knots when we go in a later step and put the flower centers on. So again, finish ironing all of your flowers in place, load your machine with 1035, and I'll see you back here in just a second. All of your flowers are now stitched with a straight stitch. It looks so cute. It's starting to come to life, don't you think? Now we're gonna do another color change. We are gonna change to the gray color, 1218, and the machine is going to, in the next step, do an outline of where we're gonna put each flower center. So we'll use this 1218 for the next 2 steps. So you have all of your little circles outlined, and these are really easy to put in place because they're perfect circles and they're all the same. So piece of cake, we'll just get these ironed on. So go one by one, doesn't matter which order you iron them on, because they're, you know, none of them overlap or anything. And so now again, we'll keep that 1218, that really pretty like light gray color on our machine. And we'll put this back on and we'll be back for the next color change. Now all of your flower centers are perfectly buttonhole stitched. So it's time to do another color change, and that is to the 0567, and that is going to do a buttonhole stitch around your star. So look how cute your star looks. So now it's time to do another color change, and that is to 1001, and the machine is gonna do the little open spots on the white hat. Look at that, the bottom of your hat is complete with that white thread stitched, and time for the very final color change and the final step of making the mug rug with the embroidery machine, and that is to load 1293. And then there's a lot of buttonhole stitching that's gonna go on. It's gonna do the brim of your hat, it's gonna do the little poles of each firecracker and the top of each firecracker, and then we'll come back and I'm gonna show you how to trim everything and get ready for binding. And just like that, you're done with all of the work in the hoop of your machine. So now it's time to trim it up and get ready for binding. So set your hoop aside and let's trim. So it's really easy to trim. You're just gonna trim along that outer rectangle stitched line. I'm actually gonna turn it over so I can see a little bit better. The white thread is hard to see a little bit, but that's good because your outlines don't show up, so it looks nice. And my little trash can's gonna get full. But we're just gonna go on all four sides. As you're trimming, do make sure you know that everything is nice and square, but the stitched rectangle should be perfectly squared up for you. And we'll do the third piece, or third line. And then a final cut, and then we're gonna trim the back of our mug rug. So I hope you all enjoyed this. Don't you just love watching your machine do all the stitching? I think it's awesome. I love working on the embroidery machine. All right, and then if you want, you can take the time to pick out the stabilizer. But how cute is that? You have the front all done. It looks fantastic. If you have any threads you need to trim from where you held your thread, just take a second and do that. I have one little spot right here I need to clip. That's been bugging me and I think about it every time the machine starts. I just forgot to trim it. There we go. See, I love these scissors. They're sharp all the way to the tips. It's great. Now let's trim the back. First, I'm gonna remove that tape because I never took it off the back. And you can obviously trim your back while the machine's running and making the front. You know, always use your time wisely. And you could have already had this part trimmed, but in the video, I'm showing it to you now. So we will trim right on that white line. There we go. And our third mark. And then the final cut. And then removing the stabilizer from this cut is very easy because you just have to pull away from around the star. So just simply take that, just like that. There we go. Clean up your trash. There we go. See, a little trash can, very handy to have. Now he's full. And so then it's really easy from here. So you'll simply take these and line it up. Your back is a little bit bigger than your front. And that's just because we want to make sure you have enough. So just sort of center it. Make sure you like the position of your star. And then keep in mind, when you trim, you know, you are going to have about 1/4 inch come up for your binding. So you can trim the backing to match. And this is where you can really make sure that you're nice and squared up. Just a little. And here's where I need that little, you know, the little spinner rotary mats? That would be really handy for this step. But back here in the studio, I just have this mat, which I like just fine. And now one thing that Mom has taught me, and I like this trick. Let me make sure I'm squared up. You can take an extra piece of heat and bond that you might have laying around, and you can actually fuse your backing to the mug rug. So you would put the fusible on your backing, and iron it on, then peel the white and fuse it to the back. That way it's nice and easy. But how cute is that gonna be, you guys? Perfect, so when you turn it over, you have a sweet little star. And then for your binding, we have great video tutorials. Make sure you, on our YouTube channel, Stitches of Love Quilting, I think it's under just Stitches of Love. Under the mug rug tutorials, there's like a series of 3 videos that really is helpful, really close-up videography of doing your binding. So I'm just gonna show you how to trim what's in your kit. Now I would go to a larger mat and use a longer ruler, but back here in the studio in this shot, I just have this small one. But make sure that you have nice straight line. And again, if you had this folded one more time, you'd have more accuracy, but just for my space that I'm filming in, I'm doing it in a small way. You're gonna go over 2 1/4 and cut, and then you have this piece left over to trim down for when you make your zipper bag with what's included in your applique club kit. Again, if you purchased it outside of the club, you might have different contents based on which items you bought. So you'd have this ready to go for your binding, and you would prep it just like you would anything else to finish your mug rug. And let me give you a preview of what it looks like completely finished, and it's just adorable. I hope that you all really enjoyed making this, and I hope that the tutorial was helpful for working with your embroidery machine. If you have any questions at all, reach out to us. We're always happy to help, and happy stitching.